Good old lessons in teamwork from an age old fable, The Tortoise and the Hare. As the story goes, once upon a time, a tortoise and a hare had an argument about who was fast among them. Hare always thought that he's the fastest, whereas the tortoise was never to let go himself and he thought he's the fastest runner. So they decided that let's settle the argument with a race. So they agreed upon a route and one fine day they started the race. As we all know that Hare is fast at running, so Hare shot ahead and briskly for some time. Then seeing that he was far ahead of Tortoise, he thought he would better sit down under a tree and take some rest before continuing, because he was quite overconfident. Sat under a tree and under a shade he soon fell asleep. The tortoise had been plodding on, overtook him and soon finished the race, emerging as the undisputed champion or the winner. The hare, when he woke up, he realized that he has lost the race. So, the moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. This is the version of the story that we have all grown up with. The story continues. So, the hare was disappointed at losing the race and he did some soul searching. He realized that he had lost the race only because he had been overconfident, careless, and lax. If he had not taken things for granted, there is no way that Tortoise could have beaten him. So he did all the analysis to challenge the tortoise to erect another race. The tortoise agreed. This time, the hare went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. He won by several miles. This time, the moral of the story is fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. If you have two people in your organization, one slow, methodical, and reliable, and the other fast and still reliable at what he does, the fast and reliable chap will consistently climb the organizational ladder faster than the slow and methodical chap. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. That's more appreciated. But the story doesn't end here. The tortoise evaluated. He did some thinking this time, and I realized that there is no way he can beat the hare in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the hare to yet another race, but on a slightly different route. The hare agreed. Tortoise this time has changed the route to his advantage. They started off in keeping with the self paid commitment to be consistently fast. The hare took off and ran at the top speed until he came across a broad river. The finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The tortoise this time had an unfair advantage. On reaching the river end, the hare sat there wondering what to do. In the meantime, the tortoise trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. The more of the story this time is first identify your core competencies and then change the playing field to suit to your core competency. In an organization, if you are a good speaker, make sure you create opportunities to give presentations and enable the senior management to notice you. If your strengths is analysis, make sure you do some sort of research, make a report, and send it upstairs. Working to your strengths will not only get you noticed, but it also create opportunity for growth and advancement. The story still hasn't ended. By now, the hare and the tortoise had become pretty good friends, knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they did some thinking together. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better if they worked together. So they decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off, and this time the hare carried the tortoise till the river bank. There, the tortoise took over and swam across with the hare on his back to the other end of the river bank. On the opposite bank, the hare again carried the tortoise and they reached the finishing line together. They both felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they had felt earlier fighting alone. The moral of the story this time is it's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies. But unless you are able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, you will always perform below par because there will always be situations at which you will do poorly and someone else does well. Teamwork is mainly about situational leadership, letting the person with the relevant core competencies for a situation take leadership is the best methodology. Few more lessons from this story. Note that neither the hare nor the tortoise gave up after failures. The hare decided to work harder and put in more effort after his failure. The tortoise changed his strategy because he was already working as hard as he could. In life, when faced with failures, sometimes it is appropriate to work harder and put in more effort. Sometimes it is appropriate to change strategy and try something different. And sometimes it is appropriate to do both. The hare and the tortoise also learned another vital lessons when we stop competing against the rival and instead start competing against the situation, we perform far better. When Roberto Guaicheta took over as CEO of Coca-Cola in 1980s, he was faced with intense competition from Pepsi that was eating into Coke's growth. His executives were Pepsi focused and intent on increasing market share of 0.1% a time. Roberto decided to stop competing against Pepsi and instead compete against the situation of 0.1% growth. He asked his executives what was the average fluid intake of an American per day. The answer was 14 ounces. What was the Coke share of that? 2 ounces. Roberto said Coke needed a larger share of that market. The competition wasn't Pepsi, it was the water, tea, coffee, milk, and fruit juices that went into remaining 12 ounces. The public should reach for a Coke whenever they felt like drinking something. To this end, Coke put up vending machines at every street corner, and the sales took a quantum jump. And the Pepsi has never been able to quite catch up since then. The key takeaways of the whole story to sum up are never give up when faced with failures. Fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. Work to your competencies. Compete against the situation, not against the arrival. Pooling resources and working as a team will always beat individual performers. Let's go and build stronger teams.